an energy that one finds in ancient objects, but this is a different energy.
Yeah. It's a very urgent and sort of contemporary, like fused porcelain. It's very hard to do. And to see that and to consider that, it brings people into it in a very different way than a history of Hiroshima or of the tragedy. And it makes people think about it that wouldn't think about this moment in history. I think that was also for me like trying to find a humanity in that moment and that history that wasn't easily judged, because it's kind of something it is what it is, right? These are objects that are from our human brutality.
Mm.
And there's a harsh reality in them that I really like.
Mm.
But they're like color field abstractions too. I mean, this is like a Peter Bradley sculpture or a
Mm.
that's interesting in a way also.
And this digital artwork is available online, yeah? onefuture.jp.
Yeah, I think a big part of this for us was to make this available for people anywhere, anytime, like to sort of take it out of the elitism of the museum also and put it into the street or into the internet without any barrier to enter. So that was important to us also, was just to create a space, a way that people could just see it anytime. So onefuture.jp lets you explore these, but it's much different when you get it at this quality. This is being delivered on 8K. I mean, to see it there is very special also. It's kind of a unique, high quality. It's almost hyper real.
Quite surreal.
Yeah.
Well, actually, a lot of this is all quite surreal. One, you're taking objects that are not hundreds of years old or thousands of years old, and yet suddenly they're imbued with this because of what they've gone through and survived, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, you can extend that to the humans you met and the trees. And therefore, this brings up this whole sacred and secular and this whole thing about how we view history and how we view art and how we view our lives and how we reconnect or how we explore and how we learn. And I think these are very powerful. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you. Yeah.
They're very moving, actually.
I think that taking it into metal is very exciting to me, but I feel like we need more effort on the patina also in that work, but also time will tell that process too. So it's great to be able to make bronzes.
I really like his new black and white pieces too.
Yeah, could you show us that abstract piece on the other side?
Yeah.
Not that one.
Abstract piece of what?
This
Sorry.
one here. Left. The other way. The left more.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
I like this painting.
This is recent, right? Wow.
I believe these are all done this year. Yeah, just within the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks.
And
it's beautiful.
How is he doing this?
He's been doing a pour technique and kind of pulling it through.
It's pour, right? Very nice.
I think there's some inspiration from color field abstraction,
Very nice.
And kind of sharing in those thoughts and ideas and showing him Peter Bradley too and sharing those types of, things. And it's definitely nice to build a relationship, in Japan with Akira and with the artists in a way that that we are able to share the language of art. And it's not place specific at all. Tokyo is also exploring similar ideas at the same time as New York, a different.
Very much, I agree. Very cool. Mm.
Yeah, I have here some of these paintings like this that I'm meant to silkscreen on,
Oh,
but I have to make like a thicker grit silkscreens than what I used in the other room.
well, part 2 of the project then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ken,
Yeah,
what kind of paper are you using?
Yeah, so this is handmade paper from Hiroshima. This is a silver leaf paper,
A
and
silver leaf paper? Yeah.
No, but is
and-
it kuzu? Is it what I used to make? Mulberry? Kuzu? You know, in Japan there's a lot of
It's
hand.
not, yes, kuzu paper is there, but I think this is a little bit modern, but the traditional Japanese paper.
Yeah, well,
And this,
so is kuzu.
yeah, this company is
but
very, very old.
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
the story of this
I
story
made paper in Japan and you know in but the point is kuzu mulberry is one of the main ones, but whatever, it's beautiful. And this is very much what they do a lot of other dimensions on. It's very beautiful, I think. Was it
this paper is sort of the artist's paper at a company that they used to make for a few hundred years. They made samurai swords. And then samurais were banned in Japan in the mid 19th century. And the company had to figure out what they could do as a family to make money, you know, instead of swords. And they started making this gilded paper. And this is the silver leaf paper.
Yeah,
and
very nice. I like this.
Yeah, and they make a beautiful gold leaf paper, which is probably their premier product. Which is, if you go to the other side,
Gold paper.
The gold paper.
Okay.
Very nice.
But it's just fabulous material, and some of this paper they told us is 40, 50 years old also. So this is not all.
I'm sure of it.
Ekiseisha is the name of the company, and they are providing these beautiful papers all over Japan and all over the world.
Very beautiful.
But this one, you know, kind of picked the best one out of their archive and did a remarkable job. You know, no one does this before. The old gold leaf paper with a Hibaku, the atomic bomb object, 3D data. This is not a photography, but it's a 3D data. So Ken, I wanted to ask you this. What's the difference? You know, you usually use photography to be printed, silk screened on different medium. This time it's 3D data.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? What felt different?
Well, you're not using photographs. You're really using a database of potential. So you still have to take the photograph, actually. So that process with Akira and I of kind of watching video together and talking about the energy of the image we want to capture and how to get, because we still had to take the picture. Because what we have are 3D renderings, so you can photograph it from any angle, any thousands of angles. So we had to kind of select an angle and a moment and sort of take our shot. And then we had to make the silk screens, and I had to, you know, we had a Zoom like this with the paper company, and with Mari Ishiko there, and we walked through all their archive of paper, and I selected all the paper one by one over the Zoom. And then 4 days later, a UPS truck pulled up and they dropped off the paper. So that was an amazing process. You know, I thought it was going to take 3 weeks, but it was literally 4 days later I had the paper that I had just ordered. But I think that idea of multiculturalism and globalization and the ability to still share things even during COVID was very important to all of us on this project. Just that we were able to keep making the scans with the museum when New York was in some of its darkest lockdown period. we were working in Hiroshima, and that was really exciting here when it was so dark. It sort of gave some semblance of hope. And I think that for Japan right now, maybe these images can mean something more, because Japan is going through a difficult moment with COVID right now also.
Okay, Ko-chan, can you go to that silver paper and onto the right, the clothes, the address? This is my favorite piece. Yeah. I saw the real one at the church when you just printed it out, just dried. And that was a surreal experience for me, because I understand it's a photography from the 3D data, but it's a 3D-dimensional data.
Three-dimensional, right? Yeah.
It feels three-dimensional on silver paper. And I never seen anything like this. I've seen silver paper, I've seen silkscreen on silver paper, but this is totally different. So detailed and so three-dimensional.
Yeah, but you could also see the life in it. It's quite beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah, this is my favorite piece.
I think that the sort of the energy also of making the work was very special. It was we were in a church, a very large church, that was being transformed into a music venue, and there was just a lot of weight in the house and in the building. And I worked with Leticia Hussein, a silkscreen assistant who I made my first silkscreens with back in 2007, 2008. And she pulled all of these prints with me over about 3 weeks. We were working. And Gabe Aiello made the silkscreens, the actual silkscreens in the Bronx. So I would drive into the Bronx and we would make the screens and test them. And then I drove them up to Hudson. But, very strange times. And these pieces sort of, they didn't seem so dark somehow. They seemed very alive and in engagement. They were sort of meant to draw you in.
That's what I was just going to mention. They are very alive. As if the objects almost levitate out of the surface. And with silk screens, that takes really large dimensions to be able to translate this. But natural materials and history and energy can do it. But it is quite exceptional. And even to see a visual of it right now from Japan and be able to feel that. Kudos, really. Bravo.
Yeah, it feels like it's the
Subarashi desho.
Subarashi, yes.
It feels like canon. It's the because the paper creates that grid, that feeling of the grid. It kind of allows the object to
float,
feel like it's popping out.
And like the recommendation, it was Leticia's recommendation actually to make it like a diamond.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It just felt
like Mondrian. Yeah.
Yes.
It made it more special somehow. She felt that it made it more like something very unique, like a precious jewel.
Yes, very Buddhist, actually, my dear.
That's true.
It's like glowing. I think we should send one to His Holiness, and to one of the big, and wait. The old priests in Horyuji in Kyoto, who I met years ago when I was working Gifun, when I was at Horyuji Temple. Gotta find out who's there. Julia Meach could help me, and a few other people. And Taco, we could, give one, they might, Horyuji still has existed.
Horyuji is the oldest temple in Japan.
Yes, I'm well aware. I worked. And but I'm just saying, it might be nice, reach out in Japan to one of these, because these are really beautiful.
Mm.
And they don't look like, I mean, they're contemporary, but they look like they transcend time and space.
Mm.
And it might be nice to have one of the ancient temples in Japan have one of these, you know?
Mm.
Looks like
No,
an
it's true.
owl.
Looks
like an owl. Oh.
What is that object, Cannon?
This is a piece of wood that
No,
was
the one
impacted.
that was to
The
the
other
left.
one,
Oh, it's money. It's melted money.
coins.
Oh,
It
Yeah.
sort of looks like an owl, if you want
Mm.
to,
yeah, I can see that.
It can be, yes.
right? Melted money. Oh my god.
I love the color too. It
Yeah.
could be monocolor, but this is layered colors.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
No, I also like the fact that it is melted money. It's such a metaphor for kind of.
Mm.
I mean, for me, the whole paper company that they made swords and now they make gold leaf paper. It's such a symbol of the military industrial complex to the peace industrial complex. You know, it's like their company went through a transformation.
Yeah.
And
Wish
think
that
that-
would happen in the U.S. a bit more.
I know.
well,
Yeah.
certainly we've been done so well, you know, with our
Yeah.
huge in Afghanistan.
Yeah, well. Mhm.
But yeah, I like this piece.
So,
But I think wood is very intense, especially in relationship to the survivor trees.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the opposite.
well, it's the whole concept of petrified, but it's not
Mm.
petrified. It's not thousands of years old, right? But oh no, it's stunning. Are some children or school groups going to come to see this exhibition? Do you think?
I don't know. You can't even have people together more than like a very small group. Like
The physical visit is kind of restricted. It's by appointment, so it can be done, but not in groups, I believe. But you know, people can.
Yeah.
But people can do virtual visit like this.
Right?
There's talk about doing a new show, you know, to do a new show in the fall or in the spring in Tokyo.
Oh. Okay.
It's a difficult time, you know, because of COVID. Tokyo's in one of its worst moments. So.
Wanted to ask you, Canon, you know, this time you've done virtual or digital work, 2019, 2020. It was all digital in a virtual place. And of course, you always talked about creating something physical, like silk screen, or even on the clothes, using a clothes and using the actual printed out 3D object sew into the clothes. I think that's still to come. But what's the difference? You know, as an artist, the feeling of creating something totally digital into physical.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's always been about making physical objects, you know, the idea of doing these hyper-real scans. And they were such beautiful art objects even before making silkscreens from them. But it's been great to try to reimagine these objects and give them new life or give them new depth and gravitas. Hello, Kimberly. How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Sorry you had a hard time with the password.
Oh, well, I'm here now.
Nice. Well, these are some of the, maybe Ko, we can start off at the front and give Kimberly the full tour.
Sure. Let me check how many percent of the battery remains right now because I'm just worried.
Okay.
Let me stop the video a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay, it's fine. So here we go. So this is the entrance.
Canon, where's Akira?
Akira, he just got to Tokyo last night, and we had a 2-hour magazine interview this morning, 7 a.m. New York.
Sorry.
And late for him. But I think he's it's the last weekend with his kids, summer
Great.
vacation.
Well, say hello for me.
I will.
We
I
will.
We will have a closing a little bit on the 28th. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Ko.
Sure. Okay.
So this is some work by Akira Fujimoto here on Oppenheimer. Sort of a portrait that he had done before we ever met. That he made this piece in 2014, but kind of a project that he calls dissolving the icon. And so sort of about silkscreen then dissolved with some acid technique on top.
Yeah, he had Douglas MacArthur and Emperor Hirohito dissolving, and Oppenheimer dissolving. A little bit of controversial work he did in 2014.
And then we have sort of the images of Kiyoshi Tanimoto, the famous peace reverend of Hiroshima. These are small silk screens. Kimberly, I think maybe even you gave me these canvases or something like that. But these are small silk screens, gesso. I use gesso and then acrylic silk screen on canvas.
Looks good.
And, this is Kiyoshi Tanimoto, and then this is John Hersey, is my grandfather.
Hmm.
And I sort of built into the underlayer a Chinese character for I, and then you.
Mm.
Mhm.
Well, neat. Beautiful.
And then you kind of go into the main galleries, Kimberly. Oh, here's go ahead, Ko.
So this is the first edition of the Hiroshima in 1949. And here we go.
These are some of Akira's explosion paintings. And he made these 3 works over the last 2 months or something. He's been making these. These are brand new works by Akira Fujimoto, solo works of his. Sort of a memory of the atomic bomb, of the mushroom cloud in his thinking.
Mm.
The original photography, original photography is very famous. It's at the entrance in the big room in the Peace Museum. So everybody remembers this mushroom cloud. But Akira, the artist, made his own impression of mushroom cloud. And this is more abstract one, yeah?
Yeah, this is a little more pushing abstraction, but trying to, take out of his memory this atomic bomb explosion painting.
And Canon, was there a collaboration? I mean, maybe you've already said this, but was there a collaboration between you and him with these pieces, with the
No,
silver?
these are solo works. These are solo works, and then.
But I guess I mean like in like how you have silver and he has silver.
Oh, well, I mean, we were talking about it. Yeah, he was asking me actually, like, what background do you think I should put with this? And it was, we're artists, so we talk about things sometimes. And especially because we're making a show together, we wanted the show to have kind of a language that would speak together. And so we were kind of thinking of this idea of villain and hero, sort of Oppenheimer, and then you have Tanimoto and Hersey, or you have these explosions, and then on the other side of that, you have the survivor tree.
Yeah.
Kimberly, let me show you some of my recent silk screens. Let me show Kimberly the survivor tree.
Okay.
These are wood frames I made in upstate New York. And these are silk screens on, this is a ginkgo.
You're cutting it out, unfortunately.
This is a ginkgo tree here. And it's a survivor tree, one of 161. This is one of 161 trees that survived the atomic blast.
So this is also from that series that we showed last year?
Yes, this is from that series, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
also kind of marbling of the inks and kind of trying to give it life, like give it some special prayer in some way. I feel like these works are really kind of a prayer, and the survivor trees for me, having gone to Hiroshima many times, this story kind of transformed from being one of this horrific moment into something more hopeful or something more about resilience and rebirth. And these survivor tree works really are solo works of mine, but that really represented that kind of new feeling of Hiroshima that I felt being there. There's one more here also. Sort of the same peach tone.
They're strong.
That's a willow tree, yeah?
Yes, it's a willow tree. And it's actually bound. It's tied together to even keep the arms together and to keep it alive. So these trees are all very well cared for. And we made a 50-minute film, Taku and I, on the survivor trees. And we really got to know very closely the tree doctor, the gentleman who cares for the trees. He's like the funnest, most happiest, most wonderful guy I've ever met. But he literally took us around to meet a number of these trees.
Yeah, Horiguchi-san said, hey, let's go meet those trees. We didn't say visit or see, meeting these trees. So he speaks with these trees. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful experience.
And I remember the first tree I met in 2015. I had had very intense days, you know, talking to the survivors and hearing their stories of what they lived through at that time. And I was a little bit fully overwhelmed. So this is silkscreen on Orizuru paper, recycled paper, made from the peace cranes, and then recycled paper, and then made and silkscreened on top of. But yeah, it's almost like finding this. I just like this, bringing some radiance or some spirit or some, I don't know, some light to the work that's quite dark, and trying to find a balance there.
And that's the one in the Motomachi, the Kusunoki tree? The first one you visited?
No, this tree is not the first one. This is one of the trees in the Peace Park, in the
that's right.
Near the memorial. But the first tree that I met in 2015, Tomoko Watanabe, who's kind of the keeper of the trees. She really started this survivor tree movement and has been influential in making that possible. But she took me to this tree, and I was kind of like, why are you taking me to a tree? I mean, I was a little bit, I wasn't negative about it, but I was a little bit, I'm exhausted. I'm filming a film. I was like, you know, what is this going to do? And I literally lied down on the roots, and it was almost transformational. It was incredible to really meet this tree. And it kind of also gave me a sense of hope in that time of just like lying with nature and thinking about its ability to be born, you know, even through what it had seen.
Beautiful piece, Alan.
Thank you.
That's a very beautiful piece.
And and Akira also, we were working with this recycled paper company, and we were trying to make paper to silkscreen on. But Akira, it ended up being like a piece of art in itself. And Akira just, you know, it was too dense to silkscreen on top of, too much texture to get what we wanted out of it. But it's incredible handmade paper.
Wow.
These are thousands of prayers for peace within this 2 pieces of paper here, which we thought was so interesting too. And then this is kind of the main gallery room of this new work, this future memory, including the first bronze piece that I've produced and that we have produced together. This is all collaborative work by Akira Fujimoto and myself together, which we started in 2019 doing these hyperreal scans of these objects from the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum, these objects that were impacted by the atomic blast, and then turning them into silk screens and high quality digital imagery. It's 8K, so it's really incredible quality. It's kind of like nothing I've seen before in a way. And the process is you can take as many as 360 photographs to get these high resolution imagery. Yeah, these are porcelain bowls that were fused by the atomic blast.
Wow.
And yeah, this is handmade paper that was made in Hiroshima and shipped to us in New York to make the work, and then shipped back with the frame pieces for the show. And yeah, really produced over 3 weeks. I was in a big church that was gifted to the project by a young Rockefeller, a friend, and we produced with Leticia Hussein, with a master printmaker, a printmaker friend, that made my first prints with me in 2008. She happened to have availability, and she made these prints with me on this special paper.
Nice.
But it really kind of felt like a prayer, you know, to the thoughts and to the objects and to the dream that it not happen again, you know, trying to find a way to share that with more people.
Yeah, when I saw this piece in a church, you showed these works at the church, and there are like 20 gold and silver and copper papers lying on the floor of the church. That was literally a prayer. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, it was a very special place to make these objects. Just kind of, I always sort of feel like within the process of talking about these very traumatic historic moments, you know, making art is a little bit like a prayer. And I feel like that it's a little bit like a meditation or a chance to think more freely and to just elevate into a representation of something. And I think that we've gotten so close to some semblance of reality, of feeling and meaning, and it's sort of been a special opportunity to make these pieces. This is a lock.
Wow.
Yes, and see here, it's not even about patina. This is almost as if it's been 20,000 leagues under the sea, and coral and algae and animals have built their nests in there. Colors. This isn't even like patina, you know, as we were talking before, right? I think one of the important things is about objects and is about what you and Taku have been working on all these years, is about this whole concept of memory, right? And often memory can be denied, and we're certainly seeing that right now, right? And every day around the world about things people want to claim and not, or want to deny. And then again, when you have objet or imagery that becomes more artistic and then becomes something more shared in a different way, memory transcends a lot of things. And yet it brings up, I was listening this morning, on NPR and the BBC to a lot of people from Vietnam. We're talking about remembering what happened in the exit from, Vietnam, right? And looking at what's happening today with Afghanistan, right? And they were talking about memory, and right, as a historian, I think about this a lot, right? And I've worked with a lot of groups, Chinese, Japanese, Hmong, right, Hindus, right? And then you're looking at all these objects from Hiroshima and all this, and so art and imagery in all these different ways and readdressing it and bring it just hopefully, and all the people you've been working with, right? Hopefully this shares it in a way that becomes peaceful and educates other people and also beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's wonderful to share them with you all. We could be there in person, but have you here for coming to kind of see the work.
Okay, and once again, I wanted to ask you this. You started the journey in 2015, following your grandfather's footsteps, and we found the meaning of memory. And I think this is also your way, isn't it? Your way of putting more meaning to those memories that's left behind.
Yeah, I think that my biggest worry was what would happen when there were no more survivors left to tell the people. What will happen to kind, because he really sort of placed the reasoning behind not having another use of a nuclear bomb with the survivors' sort of bravery to keep telling their story. I think that was, a heavy toll, a heavy concept burden going to Hiroshima since 2015, 28 times traveling to Hiroshima and trying to understand how to continue to share those memories. And I think art, and especially future memory, is what I can offer into that process of analyzing and looking at the worst suffering that we've been through, find solutions that can take us forward. I think that especially sort of part of that process of respectfully and with deep consideration, really looking at history and that terrible moment, allowing people to get closer to that. And yeah, making art about Hiroshima over the last 6 years. I mean, I've made over probably 200 works on Hiroshima, 250 works on Hiroshima. It's been very refreshing for me in the process of being able to work through stories and memories that I've heard and kind of others to share feeling that's not pure, but has some creative element.
Well, come to think of it, those survivor trees are also future memory for you guys.
Yeah,
it capturing the memory, and it lives. Actually, these trees are going to outlive us to tell those stories into the future.
We hope.
Yeah. No, the ginkgo tree is 380 years, and there's Tokyo over 800 years old. That Tokyo Air Raids we spent 2019, and I think the tree definitely outlive us.
Hopefully,
and hopefully those bronze sculpture I think you're going to create more bronze works, yeah, in the future, so that it's gonna last 4,000 years.
Yeah, we've been in a relationship with. We have a commission towards a large public sculpture that we've been prepared, sort of as a commemoration of the nuclear abolishment work.
Mm.
We will, be able to announce more soon. But we've already been commissioned, and we've been working on a large sculpture. Yeah, 15-foot tall bronze.
Mm.
I hope it'll be delivered next year. We'll see next year after.
Mm.
But that'll be the largest sculpture project that I've done, and it's been a very exciting process, just using mediums to.
Mm.
Yeah, that would be a wonderful storytelling, especially like this piece. This watch is literally timeless. It's burnt, it's exposed, it's stopped, telling the time. It's all burnt, but it's telling the story. Keeps telling us the story.
I love that, Taku. That's a beautiful way of looking at it.
There's so many objects at the museum, right, Canon, that tells you so much stories without telling us a word. Of course, listening to Hibakusha survivors, whose actual stories of their suffering of 76 years now is important. But these objects that Canon and Akira captured in such a stunning image,
Mm.
it tells you so much.
Yeah, this is very beautiful, the
Mm.
way this is portrayed. Right.
Yeah, it's frozen in time.
Exactly.
We really had to consider how to present it, because we didn't want it to seem like it was like spiraling out of control. I mean, the first time it's shown was in Hiroshima, with survivors getting. And so we were so anxious and nervous at that moment, first share with the city of Hiroshima. But immediately we saw that they were a hit, people really were.
Yeah, Mayor Matsui came to our exhibit and he was very impressed.
Oh, that's right. I think I read or saw some of your photographs, Taku, that, right?
That's right.
And then,
what I like is that they're alive, like even that imagery, as a historian, it's one thing to see a lifeless object, right? But how you were just depicting them in that spiral, or even how these are being depicted in myriad media, right, or mediums, it's to keep them more alive, and so that's sort of important.
It
right?
is.
And different, and maybe that'll awaken a whole lot of things.
Totally different.
What you and Canon were doing over these years, and at least some of what I've seen, right? You were trying to capture that sense with the trees as well, right?
Well,
And
here is so many gifts as a place, it has so much to offer, and there is true human resilience. I felt like when COVID started and we had to shut down our program for Hiroshima, we were supposed to go in April of 2019 and everything just stopped, or 2020, and everything just stopped. And it was like, for the first time in history, I think the world understood what people were living through in Hiroshima. They didn't know what the silent killer was that was radiating. And I think that the world sort of with COVID had this fear, this sudden situation where we didn't know what was killing us, and people were washing all their groceries, and people were, it was an invisible killer. And I think that like that, and it was heavily denied. There was just that article about an African American sergeant called out because the government was saying there's no such thing. There's no radiation, And it's kept objects that are very interesting to consider.
Yeah. And Ko-chan, can you kind of go back to the screen video?
Yeah, I
Oh.
find that that's what happens. People just, the video is so captivating.
Yeah.
New York, I mean, Tokyo, people would just stop and stare at it with their jaw open.
Mm.
Yeah, Akira-san and Canon was capturing this. I asked Nagata-san, the cameraman. It's a technique they use, and when I saw this video, I was stunned because it's better than your actual looking at the object at the museum. It's
Yeah.
more clear. It's more close up. It's more detailed. And I asked Akira about why, and he said that human eyes are objective, subjective, so that you look at these objects, focusing on one point to the other, and as a whole, you understand the image. But this image, there are 220 pictures taken of this object from all angles, and it put together as a computer image by computer program. So every pixel is focused, which human eyes cannot do. So every pixel is in focus. So that's why it's so surreal or super real.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so-
that's so
And
true.
so powerful.
It is powerful viewing experience. Just this morning, and Canon and I and Akira had a great conversation with Randy Taguchi. Randy is a very famous Japanese author, very bestseller author, and she was a huge fan of Future Memory because for the first time, she's been to Hiroshima many, many times and been to the museum many times. But she said, this is the first time I saw these things with my bare eyes without any filter. So that's how people felt. And people start weaving new experience, new stories out of this without any emotional filters. So I think we're going to continue that kind of conversation with different people, writers, photographers, artists, filmmakers, and trying to, weave new stories.
Yeah, it's really a very special technique for capturing these historic moments, and it's sort of the next process of turning these still lives, these like the objects. It is like Man Ray. It is like thinking about simple, like the toilet, and representing them as art. Like Andy Warhol's death painting, and it is that. It is that that intensity, the raw intensity of life and death and brutality. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't mean to interject, but I didn't think we needed to go to Warhol right then. But it's all right. That's your business. I wanted to bring up something that's sort of related, but in talking about technology with great art, okay, which changed my mind years ago. I was showing all these art documentaries in India. Remember, you know about this, right?
Yeah.
And I would bring them back, remember, from Carl Katz and MoMA and all that. Remember, you knew about that, right? And I would take them and show them in India. And one of the ones I showed was of this wonderful drawing from Da Vinci, which is in the Queen's collection. Okay. And I've met the former queens, Queen of Britain, Queen Elizabeth's collection there. And they had given this La Deluge of Da Vinci. And this was done decades ago, but I got the video to show in New Delhi from the Jet Propulsion Lab at UCLA, right?
Yeah.
This stuff, I guess. I mean, like when I was like born in the 60s, right? And I got this, so I guess I got it in the 90s, right? And I have a copy of it somewhere, I think. But I'm just bringing it up for a reason. They took this amazing drawing by Da Vinci and they're re-looking at it. Just recently, I got a thing from London saying, oh, somebody's working on this. Did you know about this from Oxford? And they had taken the Jet Propulsion Lab at Berkeley and they put this energy in to make the drawing move. And I showed this, well, I was just blown away when I saw it here in New York. And then I took the video and everybody in India was like shocked, right? And it just brought back that idea. And they were doing this. I mean, this is the Jet Propulsion Lab at Berkeley, right? But I mean, again, it opened people's minds to the depth of his drawing, right? And now apparently somebody's working on other things about this one. So all I'm trying to say is people have been exploring these ideas, though we don't tend to see them all the time, right? But I do think it sometimes opens a lot of minds and keeps a lot of older pieces alive as well. And therefore, and even with, jet scans and what all these people are doing, look how alive these pieces look. So that's all I wanted to say.
No, I think it goes back, Elizabeth, someone I think you introduced me to is Billy Kluver.
Oh, yes, of course. From Bell Laboratories.
Yeah, art and technology and the
oh my God, yes. He was
Rauschenberg.
Billy Kluver with Rauschenberg and Tongi and oh my God, Billy Kluver. Yes, from Bell Laboratories. Yes, he was very much.
Yeah, my attraction to silver certainly goes back to the silver clouds and a lot of those happenings, and was always a big inspiration.
But they were doing this stuff like before you were born, and when I was like, like very little. But I mean, still, look how it's astonishing, and they're still coming up with more and more. Look at this. This is beautiful. Billy Kluver. Oh my goodness, I haven't thought about him for a while. Kimberly, you must have known. I think your mother probably met Billy Kluver.
I think so, Elizabeth. I think.
He was
wild.
One of the big guys at the Bell Labs with art and I introduced Kent. I'm sure your mother met him. Yeah.
I think 97 or 93 when I went out to see him in New Jersey at his place, and he was like, "Oh, you have to take forward the work," and it was people who had
we
done
used
that.
To meet at the Odeon. Yeah. Oh my God, what a character he was. Yeah, but Bell Labs was doing very cool stuff, and like Jet Propulsion Lab. No, I mean, all these people were doing very cool stuff with art and science.
Well, Bell Labs, I did an interview with someone who used to work there.
Oh, who?
I can't remember because I was just filming it, but they were talking about how they came up with this object, and it was identical to the iPad, and how they had this idea like so long ago, and then how those people moved into Apple. It was really kind of interesting.
Very interesting.
What is this one that we're looking at? What is this one? It's melted what?
This is the beer cap. So this is a beer factory. They kept all these caps, and then that was all melted together.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
It's beautiful, no?
It becomes like an abstract sculpture. It's quite beautiful as is. When they brought it out from their archive, there are tens of 15, 16,000 of these objects. There are several thousand on display at the museum, but there are much more in the
Oh,
storage. This is all nails.
I know, this is very cool. Oh.
Yeah, just as objects, they're pretty remarkable objects.
Looks almost Neolithic, you know,
Mm.
right? Like a skull of
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
marginal
Yes.
feature, right? Wow.
I feel like my favorite piece is the dress on the silver.
Mm.
Yeah.
It feels like it sort of, because these objects are so beautiful, but it feels like that's like the really sort of elevates the
Mm.
idea and the emotion of the object.
I was really apprehensive to make these.
Really?
There's such sort of holy or precious objects
Mm.
in the minds of people of Hiroshima and some people across Japan, across the world, but especially the people of Hiroshima. These objects are very precious,
Mm.
and so it was, being so bold as to put them on shiny paper and try was something that worried me for sure, and still, I look forward to the opportunity to show these works in Hiroshima. But
On the other
I
hand,
think
what
they're a tribute to the place, and
On the other hand, was just
I loved making them. They were really special to make.
But I feel like Canon, I think what I'm drawn to with it is like it's the only one of the piece that feels like it has a human element to it, like the people that were lost and the spirits that were left behind.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
this has a
very true.
a sadness to it.
Yeah,
But
we have a
also
full scale
resilient.
one. What did you say, Elizabeth?
A resilience to think
Yeah.
that survived is quite astonishing. Right?
Yeah, I guess that's probably a better way to look at it.
Well,
This is
I mean, if you think metal is different, right? And those other things sort of fused. But to think that this, wow. Right?
This is the
Yeah, no,
image
it's so
I.
true. Like fabric that survived. It's incredible.
Mm.
Oh,
This is the
But it
image I
also
took.
feels like it has it just feels like it has a shape, like there's a body underneath there. It's very
Mm.
That's the
crazy.
part. Yeah.
That's how
yes.
it's
yes.
exhibited. This is the photo of
Like
the
a
piece
spirit is under there or something.
I took at the church. There was a beautiful lighting.
That's a great photograph.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, just came in like that through the church's windows,
Right.
Yeah.
and as
Oh,
seeing
yeah,
people, it just
like
glimmered.
a prism almost.
Mm.
Yeah.
Lovely.
It was very special to share the works and then to put them in a box and send them to Japan. Anxiety driving, but beautiful to send them. Yeah, there's the church where we showed.
Good. Thank you, Taka.
It
Yeah,
was
and
such a beautiful
Vibrant.
setup. Yeah.
Yeah, Canon took me here. We were shooting a movie up at his house.
Right.
And I came here to help him move some of the stuff, the works back to his
Yep.
home. Quite an amazing space.
It is.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. You're making that film.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is from Catchers.
When do we get to see it?
Soon enough, hopefully. We're still filming it. We're still pushing forward with much ambition. But it's always a battle. But it's been an incredible experience. And speaking of I feel like we were just talking about how nature infuses everything. And we had some incredible weather. It was the hottest, it was the peak of the summer. Canon does not have air conditioning.
We don't
and we had just these rainstorms that were incredible in how they sort of infused the energy of the set and the acting and the also all the art that we selected for the movie. Also how it all speaks speaks to the you know, to the outcome of the film. So it was a pretty incredible experience.
Hopefully you'll get to meet this next Saturday, Elizabeth, if you're up here.
Yeah, I'm still very curious why you chose that title, by the way.
Well, it's actually, in the movie, it's the guy invented this thing called the crumb catcher.
Oh, it's an actual thing?
It's an invention where, yeah. Well, I don't want to take up the time. It's not my
That's okay.
not my plan.
No, it's totally fine.
See, this is a great image right now.
Yeah, this is how it's shown at the museum. And they
Taku,
took a beautiful
oh,
picture.
this is
of
how
that.
it's shown at the museum.
Yep.
Oh. What I was wondering is, you know, after this show in Japan and hopefully in Hiroshima, right? Is it possible to do somewhere here like an installation of all this imagery with some of the silk screen? Obviously, the objects are in Japan, but so people can walk through spaces, you know, and become sort of part of the. I mean, it's a bit overwhelming, but it might be, you know, some of these images are very powerful.
I mean, you could literally make, they make misted, they make sort of multiple projections on mist that make holograms possible.
That would be amazing, Cannon.
That would be very, very powerful.
I think
If
that would
you,
be great. I think
I
that's
mean,
how they-
imagine walking into like the armory or somewhere like that, Elizabeth, and having like 7 of these, but large, as misted holograms.
I
Yeah,
think
that are spinning around like this.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be so cool.
And we gotta get Sakyamoto's music.
Oh yeah.
Sakyamoto.
We have 3D data of all these things, 27 objects. So we can make it move, we can make it still, we can make anything out of this.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, it could be easily a holographic image.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you so much for coming, and we'll definitely put a few more of these together and love to, you know, increase the momentum and find new ways to share the work, even in these totally complicated times. So thank you for coming.
And do a show in New York, yeah?
Yes.
Hopefully, soon.
Amazing.
And please say hello to Akira for me.
Yep.
And hello, Kimberly. Hello, Kimberly.
Nice to hear your voice, Elizabeth. I wish I could see your face.
No, it's my neck's really bothering me.
Hello.
No, my neck is bothering me. I have a heating thing. That's
hello.
Sorry. And Chris, I've heard quite a lot about you, so nice to hear.
Oh yeah, nice to meet you too. Maybe I'll see you next weekend.
Next time.
But okay, bye guys. Thank you for having me, Cannon.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank you so
all.
much for coming.
Bye.
Thank you. Great to see you, Kimberly. Hope to see you in the flesh.
Bye.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Everett. Thank you, Mari.
Nice to see you, Cannon.
Thank you. Bye.
That's so good. Thank you so much.
In the flesh, that would be good.
Yeah, let's
Yep.
do it. Get together soon.
We'll try. We'll see how that can work. Okay, dear.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Okay. Oh, Cannon's gone. So, right. はい、お疲れ様